Welcome to Dr Natasha Cook, a dermatologist who knows a lot about the skin you're in. Today we're going to talk about the science of longevity and the hallmarks of aging. Now, if you hang around the internet long enough, you're going to be sold a supplement, a potion, a lotion, a powder, something that will promise you the fountain of youth. But if aging isn't a disease, do we need to spend money to live longer?
Well, to a point, yes. But it's not just spending money, it's also our choices every day of how we live. We now know, since around about 2010, a phenomenon known as the power of the epigenome, that 80% of how we age is actually related to how we live, and only 20% is predetermined by our inherited DNA.
That's right.
So we can't keep blaming mum and dad.
Epigenetics aren't just our mum and dad, right? It can be our grandparents, our great-grandparents.
Yes, but it's more so, epigenetics is a dynamic state of our lifestyle factors, everything from sleep, stress, what we eat, exercise, etc., etc., and the power of this kind of dynamic state that surrounds our inherited DNA that can selectively turn bits of those DNA on or off. I think the nice take-home point is we have control that we can reverse a lot of the activity of what parts of our DNA get activated and what parts of our DNA no longer activate.
Okay, so without getting too sciencey, effectively you're saying 80% of the way we age is completely controllable.
To a point, yes.
Okay.
Unless we've got hardcore, highly inheritable disease risks, but even then, we can moderate that.
Okay.
By choices.
Okay. But first, like the most obvious and visible sign of aging, right? It's my face melting towards my neck.
You've got fabulous skin.
No, my sag is a drag, Natasha.
Yes.
Why does this happen?
Well, unfortunately, every single one of us on the planet, despite how much we invest in preventative treatments and skin rejuvenation, etc., ultimately, if they really want to fix the ultimate sag, it is eventually a surgical procedure. So there are a lot of non-surgical things we can do and lifestyle factors, and definitely having a high functional, good quality skin, which is avoiding sun, etc., etc.
Okay, now you've spoken to me before about your butt theory around aging.
Yes.
It's like a derriere diagnosis of how kind of saggy or what your biomarkers are really saying about how old you are. Because there's been lots of interesting research around the hallmarks of aging, right?
Yes, there's 13 of them, which is a very academic paper, which took me 10 hours to read the first time. So yes.
But there is lots, that's a big new area of research, isn't it? The hallmarks of aging.
Well, the PhD scientists have known this for in excess of a decade. I think it's now filtering into the mainstream.
But let's go back to this cheeky approach you've got
Cheeky
to sussing out your little butt to really work out how old you are.
Well,
what will my rear reveal?
Well, I guess that's if your butt doesn't see sun unless you're a naked sunbaker. That could be a different kind of niche group.
However, that was what my parents were doing a long time ago.
I do say to patients and whatever who sometimes just are absolutely astounded at the level of degradation, particularly in Australia, I call it the V T-shirt mark, which I think we have the best V signs in the world. We are number one at pretty bad skin. We're champions, world champions, gold medals to us, just not in the swimming pool. That's also why, because we spend too much time in the swimming pool, let alone the beach. We take it for granted. That if you look at the skin on your bottom, and obviously having done lots of skin cancer checks, etc., in my professional lifetime, you actually realise that intrinsic aging is not that bad. So the quality of that skin and the intrinsic, i.e. no external factors, no sun, no environment, the quality of that skin looks like it does belong to somebody in their 20s and 30s. And European scientists, and I have gone to seminars in Paris talking to these people, because I quite love those labby science people, because there's so much BS in the marketing world. It's really good to go and speak to people that actually work with the fibroblasts and the keratinocytes and look at collagen and elastin for a living. Intrinsic deterioration of elastin fibers and collagen, we all know that they're the things that make our skin tight and buoyant, is quite slow. And I think if you look at your butt skin, which basically traditionally does not really see any sun, you can see what that would be like if the rest of us didn't get so much environmental exposure. It is not that bad.
So your butt cheek is the true sign of how old you are.
Yes.
Correct. All right, now let's talk about this very big sort of scientific term, senescence. And, you know, are my sleeping
a
cells...
marketer's dream, senescence.
sort
And
of
Senolytics,
bad.
because lots of things are Senolytics, including exercise and intermittent fasting. Did you know
So
that?
Senolytics is the opposite of senescence.
Senolytic, lytic, or lysis, as to destroy, so things that get rid of the sleepy cells. So let's talk about what is cellular senescence. So first of all, cellular senescence is actually a natural defense mechanism of the body to stop a cell going into a cancer cell. So the body's immune system picks up this cell might have some abnormal DNA, and the cell switches itself off, it becomes dormant, doesn't mass produce cancer cells, and it goes sleepy. And then the immune system, which is part of what we call the autophagy, or the housekeeping, which cleans up all the junk in your cells in your body, gets rid of it. So to a certain degree, senescent cells are good and they're protective. The problem is, what happens in the first 30 years of life thereafter, the second stage is, all our mechanisms to get rid of these senescent or sleepy cells deteriorates. So our housekeeping mechanisms go down and we get more junk, right? But there are ways we can mitigate, again, through lifestyle, to increase our cellular cleaning mechanisms and increase autophagy, which is eating up the junk, and reduce. The second problem with senescent cells is not just you have sleepy junk in there that takes up space that healthy cells need to be in, and then we get organ dysfunction. The second thing about these sleepy cells is they produce substances known as a secretome, which are inflammatory mediators that create increased inflammation, and we know that inflammation is at the core of every disease process, whether it's cancer, Alzheimer's, or cardiovascular disease. So two things: taking up space, useless, creating junk. Secondly, secreting stuff that creates more inflammation.
But is there just a way I can make these sleepy, lazy cells go faster?
Well, they're not going fast, just want to get rid of them. Remember, they're not bad, but they overaccumulate, which is what then creates things like Alzheimer's. Lots of junk of proteinaceous substances that secrete bad things and then take off areas of your brain that you need.
Right.
So what can we
should
do?
I just sip my Diet Coke to digest
Yeah,
that
I'm not
for a
going
minute?
to comment on Diet Coke, which is one form of addiction in one way, and the artificial sweeteners are just as bad as real sugar. The answers are always in science. They're there if we look.
So-
And in history if we look too, if we want to learn.
So if we pay, $20-30 for a bottle of collagen supplements, you're just basically saying we're making expensive wee and poo.
Yes, potentially. Now, if you're deficient in certain amino acids or whatever, could it be beneficial? Look, probably yes, but there is absolutely no foolproof scientific research and evidence to show that that makes more collagen in your skin.
And that's just really about engaging your brain to
Yeah.
think through a few things.
Yeah, but the art of critical thinking is probably not something that we're encouraging in our society nowadays, with 6 seconds needing to give people all the answers of life.
Yeah, and the brain and brain health is a big worry when you get over 50. A lot of us might be looking after older parents.
I dispute that. I think it's
Okay.
part of disuse atrophy. I also think it's about fitness and getting thin, just don't get fat, right? I think it's, and obviously there are some metabolic individuals where despite doing everything, they do have issues with weight gain. But I think and this is where traditional medicine has failed really badly, we are reactive and treat disease rather than being proactive and preventative and not getting it in the first place. And this is where I see the future.
Okay, so but back to brain health. Are you saying that as our brains age, we don't have to inevitably get poor brain health?
No. And I want to reframe aging as time on the planet, because we now know that, and we can measure this. There is a difference between chronological, i.e. how old I am in birthday years, versus biological, what my functional age is. So I believe that we really should be focusing on prevention, aging, prevention disease, and preventative medicine, rather than, oh my God, now you've got cancer, what are we going to do? Okay. So how do we live every day? And so the same with the brain. I have a 93-year-old patient who is as sharp as a 40-year-old. And so I can't look at her and say she's got a 90-year-old brain. Okay. But then I've got some 55, 65-year-old patients who literally are not as sharp as my 93-year-old.
Is that because they drink Diet Coke?
I don't know what it is. I think it's multifactorial. I think it's far more complex, and there's lots of cohort or surrounding factors. However, I do believe that saying just because I'm this age means I'm at this level of life or I get mocked into this bucket is wrong. So I think keeping stable body weight, I think lean muscle mass, I think environmentally protecting yourself, your skin. Pollution's really important. There's a lot of problems with diseases increasing in China particularly, all directly related to pollution. I think using your brain, I use my brain clearly all the time. It's my day job, it's my life, and I'm active, and I don't really see myself ever not working or doing something. because I'm a curious person. I think it's like the Sudoku puzzles, and I think it's a bit like, don't use it, you do lose it. In all aspects.
Do Sudoku.
Oh, well, I've never tried it. I've got other things to do. Not to say that I might like it, but I just have other things to do. So I do think a lot of these things are literally...
Use it or lose it?
Totally. And I think that we're still stuck on old school beliefs. And beliefs aren't truth, they're beliefs.
That's right. So,
right? They're not truths, they're just beliefs.
So what I'm hearing you say, though, is age is not about the date you were born or the year you were born.
100%.
It's about how well you live. And
yes.
you got to use it or lose it, right? From
100%.
Our protein, our muscle mass, our brains.
How you eat, what you eat, when you eat, sleep, exercise, stress management, and intellectual stimulation and community.
Okay, and so let's just go back to that time-restricted eating.
Yes.
What are some of the best eating windows that we can...
The magic number, doesn't matter when you do it or what time of the day, but there are some debates about that, is 16 hours, right? So that's literally either finishing early,
Okay.
and having breakfast and whatever, or starting later. Yes, so it's 16 hours. So some people will still have breakfast, but then they might finish at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m, whereas other people start around 11 and finish by 7.
Okay.
So, and then that gives the body time to digest, but then also it starts telling our cells, well, we're in a bit of scarcity, right, which is how we used to live, because we now live in too much abundance.
So what you're saying is 16 hours is when that's how long you should not eat for.
Yeah, look,
so
you might have tea
8 hours.
or coffee, or you might have, or hopefully coffee not at night because it's too much of a stimulant, and water and whatnot. But yes, that's the magic window.
So
and if you can do that at least, say 3 times a week, it's amazing. If you can do it every day, even better.
There are a lot of, scientists, researchers, and there's this guy called Brian Johnson who sells his own bottles.
I have a 1 degree of separation from Brian Johnson.
Interesting.
Yes.
But he sells his extra virgin olive oil for like US $37 a bottle, and I can get it at Aldi for like, I don't know, $8,
Well,
$9.
did you know some of the best extra virgin olive oil is manufactured in Australia?
Oh, no, I did not
It
know
is.
this.
Yes.
But I do like Cobram Estate extra virgin olive oil.
Excellent.
I think
Good
that-
choice, Alex.
It's available at Aldi, and
Yes,
I always
we
love
love
it.
Aldi.
Yes.
Yes.
But why extra virgin olive oil and not just regular old olive oil? What's the difference?
It's got to do with the
right?
cold press and the manufacturing mechanism, okay? So that
So
it's
get the extraction process.
Exactly. So you've got very low inflammatory olive oil. The active ingredient in olive oil is a polyphenol known as oleic acid.
Yes.
Oleic acid has multiple anti-inflammatory, antioxidant potential, and also directly works on the 3 key enzymic regulators for cellular aging and longevity, which is known as the sirtuin gene pathway, the AMP kinase pathway, and the mTOR pathway. So basically all you need to know about that is it helps with cleaning up your cells, reducing inflammation, and increasing healthspan.
Okay, and is this the reason why, like, the Mediterranean diet is, all hail be for sort of eating well? Because the more variety of things you eat...
Colours. So I can break that down. So the Mediterranean diet meets the Okinawa women diet was the easy way just to get people to understand what they should eat, right?
Yeah.
Bright, colourful things are very good for you because
Like
they are...
red capsicum, green broccoli,
Yes, and I'll tell you
orange
why,
carrots,
which is why
right?
food sources, fruit and veg have all antioxidants, animals don't. That's why. Fruit, with its skin, is exposed to the elements, so they must upregulate all of these natural survival mechanisms to survive that if we ingest are really good for us.
Okay.
And all those colours in the skin are a reflection of the load of antioxidants and polyphenols, which is an antioxidant, right?
And they're like...
So those...
They're things that help our cells.
They're
clean up.
antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. So if we are dying because of oxidative damage, because believe it or not, breathing in oxygen actually destroys us, which is hyperbaric oxygen is debatable.
Oh, now you're
limited.
spinning my mind.
Yes, we are constantly oxidizing. So living better is all about increasing nutritional support, reducing inflammation, reducing oxidative damage. So if we eat more things that are more anti-inflammatory and are more antioxidant, and then we up our levels of things in high nutritional support, we are going to live better and look better.
So we're going to go ba-bow
Ba-bow.
or yes.
Ting.
When I'm
Ting,
asking you a couple of questions.
It's ba-bow
right?
or ting-ting.
Okay,
Or
ba-bow and ting-ting.
ching if it's a cash cow.
All right, so let's start again. Should I take collagen for better hair and skin?
Ba-bow. Can I tell you what the definitive answer would be? Eat seriously well. High antioxidant, anti-inflammatory foods, and really good protein sources.
Okay. What about skin whitening treatments? You know, as we get older, we get these little
There's
pigments
no
and
such
stuff.
thing as overt skin whitening. However, we can fade skin. It's prescription medicine is usually required, and some actives in skincare, such as niacinamide, is a good over-the-counter ingredient to use for it. A prescriptive vitamin A, and usually a compounded prescription of hydroquinone, because over-the-counter doesn't work.
Okay.
And guess what's the best? Not getting brown spots in the first place, which means SPF 50 and above every day,
Yeah.
sun protection, and protecting your skin. So not getting the problem in the first place is the answer.
That's pretty.
And then
much
lasers. Lasers are very helpful as well. But there's no ultimate skin whitening product on the market. Skin fading, yes.
Okay,
But
so
complex.
so let's talk about lasers. Can lasers help us look better from a skin perspective?
100%, but it depends on what laser. So these things,
so it's
again,
not
it's a
simple.
billion-dollar industry that's not very regulated. That the only regulation, actually, I'm going to Parliament to talk about this. Shadow Minister this week. Yes, I'm a bit popular this week. The only barrier to entry to buy an energy-based device in the state of New South Wales is, drum roll, a PowerPoint.
So there's no regulation for lasers.
Very little.
Right. Now let's talk about something my niece is very obsessed with, which
Great.
is snail mucus.
Oh my god! Okay, I love this. This is hysterical. This is
She
about
buys all the Korean
well,
products.
Korean beauty is overestimated because Koreans don't age because they don't go outside. And whenever I go to a conference with Korean lasers and my beautiful Korean colleagues, they're gorgeous. They got nothing to treat. They're showing before and after so people look no different. And then you
Because they work
come
so
to
hard,
Australia,
right?
they would fail. They would fail here. They would fail any other country in the world because they just sit there they don't go outside. They have these elaborate routines, and when you break down the ingredients profile that's celebrated in dermatology literature, there's nothing in there that's that special.
Oh, really?
Nothing.
But like
I think they're very innovative in the quality of their formulations, right?
Yeah.
And their feel
They are
and all that,
innovative.
like the shaders and whatever. But I wouldn't rate their SPF say over standards of something that's tested and made in Australia.
Okay.
Very different kind of ballpark there. Not saying it's bad, so I don't want to sit here and tell that it's bad. But I don't think it's necessarily. It's a little bit hope in the jar.
Okay.
So probably make really nice formulations of moisturisers and things that feel good. And let's talk about snail mucus.
Yeah,
When I spoke to all of my PhD scientists, people don't get paid much for being really smart, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're truth seekers and they're not out for the money. They're out for actually to be really legitimate scientists. And their publications get pulled if they lie. Not like you can win elections by lying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
True.
we just said that, right? So they have told me there are no snail farms anywhere in the world. And you know what snail mucus actually is?
What is it?
It's hyaluronic acid.
So
This is made synthetically, not from little snails being
Oh, so it's
slugged
not
away
real.
like cruelty.
yeah, making their mucus for
No,
them to put in a jar.
no, it's hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is in creatures, it's a lubrication, it's in our joints, it's in our skin. It lasts in our skin less than 24 hours. Hyaluronic acid is actually a very bad moisturiser.
It's like if I
Glycerin is better. But in combination and moisturising complex, it's great, but by itself, it's
right.
not.
Okay, there's this new thing I've read about called Spermidine.
Oh yes, so spermidine
What
is
even
an
is
ingredient is biologically natural around sperm to preserve sperm.
Right.
Now, do you also know what preserves sperm?
What?
In the old days when IVF was first coming around and sperm donation, green tea.
Oh.
Green tea is a powerful antioxidant they used to put in with the ejaculate.
Oh, this is disgusting.
Well, it's true.
I know, I don't
So,
know.
and now all of a sudden, off spermidine, and spermidine actually does exist in certain foods, so you can eat it. So now all of a sudden there's
Well, like what? What foods have spermidine in
Look,
them?
I'm pretty sure, I'll have to go back to it. I know
Oh.
ficetins and strawberries, and when I did this talk, and it's been a little while, but I will follow up on this. There are some natural food supplies for spermidine, and now, wheat germ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is one of them. And then now all this extrapolated data, because that surrounds sperm, can it be put in a face cream? There's no studies. But there is a new skincare range all about spermidine. I'm like, there's no studies on violet. And is this any better than vitamin A?
Teeth are pretty important to age well,
Oh
right?
my god, yes, and gum health, and we were taught to overclean our teeth the wrong way, which gives us early gum degeneration, which exposes roots, which then means root canals, and needs caps, you name it. There's $100,000 of dental work over the next 20 years, right? And a healthy mouth, we know, is connected to healthy gut and healthy organ systems as well.
That's right, and the gut microbiome, right,
Is another topic.
a whole new topic.
Yes, dysbiosis happens, which means bad bacteria goes up, good goes down as a result of metabolic aging. But we can also biohack that by how we eat, what we eat in food groups.
Is that just having more yogurt?
Well, yeah, and things like vinegar, balsamic vinegar, and olive oil, and lemon juice, and fermentable plant-based foods, which is legumes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Yep. And metformin, which is another topic, but metformin reprograms your gut dysbiosis.
someone told me that like toothpaste doesn't actually help your gums or your teeth.
No, it does. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
So flossing is super important because even if we use electric toothbrushes and whatever, the accumulation of the food promotes bad bacteria, leads to plaque, and that leads to a plethora of problems.
Okay.
So flossing twice a day ideally is really important.
Okay.
Probably potentially more so than cleaning, but I mean really both are what you need to do. You don't want to use too many mouthwashes because then you're going to kill your good oral microbiome.
As we age, you know, there's two very big conditions that affect pretty much everybody: eyes and
Yes.
dental work, right?
Yes,
That's
but you
why.
can prevent eye aging with what you eat as well.
Oh, how?
Things like fish oil,
Okay.
cod liver oil, olive oil, and antioxidants do improve and slow down aging of your eyes.
So there you have it. Brutal truths about longevity and the hallmarks of aging, as explained by Dr. Natasha Cook, dermatologist. Thanks for sharing that very big brain in the very tiny body that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. It's been a pleasure. Lots of fun. Thank you.